So the problem is quite often we tend to mix our covenants, and that's what can cause people confusion when they think God is promising them prosperity.
All right, so I've been hearing about the prosperity gospel for quite a while now. I'm a Bible teacher,
Yes.
been for about 30 years. And I wanted to clarify something. We know that the purpose of serving God is not to be rich or make money. And we know that tribulation will come, okay? But I want to clarify with you, if healing and prosperity is not intrinsically a part of the gospel message, because Jesus did say he came to give good news to the poor.
Mm-hmm.
All right, good news to the poor is you don't have to be poor any longer. Right, the Bible does say that he became poor so that we might become rich. You know, he gave us a whole lot of heroes of faith: Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. They were wealthy people.
Let me just stop right here with regard to that phrase, he became poor so we could become rich. I don't think we have to look at the context of that, but I don't think it's referring to financial riches. It's referring to the fact that Jesus came to earth, the perfect man, and didn't have a place to even lay his head, and forsook the benefits of being God, Philippians 2, so we could then be reconciled to God and be heirs to the ultimate kingdom, not the fact that we're going to get a lot of money while we're here.
Understood.
Okay.
But having said that, and having understood and agreeing with that, we do have examples in Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and many patriarchs who the Bible specifically said were rich in silver, cattle, and gold. And those are our examples. So how do we reconcile the...
Oh, yeah, good question. I think we have to recognize there are two covenants in the Bible. There's the Old Covenant, and then there's the New Covenant. In the Old Covenant, which is laid out in terms of law from Exodus 20 to the end of Deuteronomy, there were provisions in there where if you obey me, you will be blessed materially. And it's even expressed in some of the prophets. For example, in Malachi 3, or we might say the Italian prophet Malachi, he says, bring your tithe to the storehouse or to the temple, and your storehouses, your barns will overflow, right? The problem is that's Old Covenant. That's not New Covenant. New Covenant doesn't have that same you do X, you'll get Y sort of, or God will give you Y sort of transaction. The New Covenant is God comes to earth and lays down his life to reconcile us to an infinitely holy God. And the laws that you find in the Old Testament just apply to Israel. They don't apply to any other nation. So the problem is quite often we tend to mix our covenants, and that's what can cause people confusion when they think God is promising them prosperity. In fact, let me give you one example of this, and I know I might upset some people, but that's okay. My flight is at 7:30. All right? I'm out of here. Jeremiah 29:11 does not apply to us. It's not a promise to us. You know the promise I'm talking about? Oh, the plans I have for you, the plans to prosper you, the plans to bring you a future and a hope. That was not written to 21st century Christians. That was written to the exiles in 586 who went to Babylon. That's who the letter was addressed to. It wasn't addressed to 21st century Christians. So you'll see Jeremiah 29:11 on mugs, on posters, stitched into pillows, right? It's everywhere, right? Because people take it out of context and try and apply it to us. Unless you're 2,600 years old and you're living under Nebuchadnezzar in modern-day Iraq, Jeremiah 29:11 is not a promise to us or not a promise to you. I always ask people who quote Jeremiah 29:11, why don't you quote Jeremiah 44:11? Why? Well, Jeremiah 29:11 was written to the exiles who went to Babylon. Jeremiah 44:11 is written to the exiles who went to Egypt, and God said, don't go to Egypt. So you know what Jeremiah 44:11 says? I will destroy you and all Judah. You don't see that stitched into a pillow, right? You don't see that on a birthday card. Happy birthday. I will destroy you and all Judah. Jeremiah 44:11. Well, thank you, Grandma. That is so sweet. No. You see, that's because we're taking stuff out of context, and we can't do that. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of the prosperity gospel teachers We'll take stuff out of the Old Testament and try and apply it to Christians today. It doesn't work. Now, I'm not saying Jeremiah 29:11 doesn't help us understand who God is. It does. And a similar verse in the New Testament might be something we've already quoted, which would be Romans 8:28, that all things work together for good to those that love God and are called according to his purpose. It doesn't say all things are good, but it's not promising material prosperity 70 years from now like Jeremiah 29:11 is. It was promising that to that generation at that time.